Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Damon. I am 35 years old, and I work as an engineer. I make solid money, nothing flashy, but enough that I am comfortable. I own my house outright because my grandparents left it to me when they passed. I drive a paid, off truck, keep my bills low, and mind my business. I watch too many of my boys get wrecked in divorces and ugly breakups. So for most of my adult life, I chose to stay single, keep my freedom, and avoid drama that could burn my peace to the ground. Then I met Selena. She was 29, a real estate agent, and she walked into my life at a friend's wedding like she owned the room. I was a groomsman. She was a bridesmaid. We got paired for the entrance, and the second she slipped her arm through mine, I caught the scent of her perfume and the confidence in her smile. She was gorgeous, well put together, always in a dress that looked like it came straight from a boutique. She said she worked hard, had her own place, her own car, her own life. She laughed a lot, asked me questions, and seemed genuinely into me. Red flag number one came that very night, and I stepped right over it. She kept mentioning her ex. My ex would never dance like this. My ex hated weddings. My ex never wanted to dress up. It was like she could not tell a story without dragging that man into it. I remember thinking it was strange, but I was attracted to her, so I brushed it off. We danced anyway. We laughed anyway. And by the end of the night, I had her number, and she had mine. We started dating officially about a month later. The first 6 months felt almost perfect. Selena was funny, charming, ambitious, and incredible in bed. We went to nice restaurants, and sometimes she would insist on splitting the check. She talked about her goals in real estate, the clients she wanted, the houses she dreamed of selling. It felt like I had finally found a partner who had her own thing going on and did not need me for anything other than love and companionship. Slowly, very slowly, things started to shift. It was so subtle at first that if I look back now, I can see every little line, but at the time it felt like normal relationship stuff. She forgot her wallet once when we were out, then again and again. Her car would conveniently need repairs right when she was a little short this month, and somehow I was the one pulling my card out. 1 month, she called me crying because her rent was going to be late and her landlord was threatening to charge late fees. I helped, because the first time she asked to borrow money, she did it in a way that seemed almost humble. She called me from the side of the highway, voice shaking. "Damon, my car just broke down. The tow truck driver wants $200 cash, and I do not have it. Can you please help me? I will pay you back, I swear." I drove out there, paid the tow guy, made sure she got home safely. 2 weeks later, she actually paid me back. That one repayment planted the dangerous idea in my head that this was just temporary, that she would always make it right. The second borrow was not paid back. She said her landlord was being unreasonable about late rent, and she needed $400 to avoid a late fee. I sent it. "I will pay you back by the end of the month," she said. At the end of the month, there was suddenly an unexpected dental bill. The month after that, it was car insurance. There was always something that came up right when repayment time was near. Every time I even hinted at the money, she would get upset and we would end up in an argument. Around month 8, the ex started appearing in our conversations again, but this time with more weight. "Let us call him Terrell," she said once, like she was naming a character in a story. "Terrell is really struggling right now. Terrell lost his job. Terrell's car got repossessed." I was sitting there thinking, why am I hearing so much about this man? But she framed it like she was just venting about someone from her past. One night over dinner at a restaurant I paid for, the conversation took a turn that still makes me shake my head. She put down her fork and said, "So, Terrell called me yesterday. He is about to lose his apartment. He is behind on rent by 3 months. I shrugged. "That is unfortunate," I said, and kept eating. She watched me for a moment and then reached for my hand. "Damon, I was thinking maybe we could help him out." I literally stopped mid-chew. I asked. "Yeah," she said softly. "Like you could cover his rent for a few months, just until he gets back on his feet." I just stared at her, waiting for the punchline. "You want me to pay your ex-boyfriend's rent?" I said it slowly, so there would be no misunderstanding. "It is not like that," she insisted. He's just someone I used to date. We are friends now. Friends help friends. Selena, I said, I do not even know this man. Why would I pay his bills? Her eyes filled with that wounded look she had perfected. I thought you cared about me. The people I care about matter to me. If you loved me, you would understand that. It was a full, on-guilt trip, delivered with tears just beginning to gather. I told her flat out I was not paying her ex's rent. She did not speak to me for the rest of the night and gave me the silent treatment for 3 days. Then, like a switch, she was suddenly fine again, acting as if she had never asked. The pattern repeated. 2 weeks later, we were at my place watching a movie when she casually mentioned that Terrell's electricity had been shut off. That is unfortunate, I said again without looking away from the screen. Damon, come on. It is like $300. That is nothing to you. It is not nothing, I replied, and it is absolutely not my problem. You are being selfish, she snapped. I'm being selfish, I said, turning to her. You're asking me to pay your ex-boyfriend's utility bill. Explain to me how that makes sense. She burst into tears. I cannot believe you will not help someone in real need. I thought you were a good person. That line hit a nerve. I am a good person to people who have earned it, I said. Some random man who used to sleep with my girlfriend is not my responsibility. She stormed out of my house that night and did not come back for a week. Over the next 3 months, her requests became more frequent and more outrageous. Terrell needs new tires. Can you send him $600? Terrell is behind on his car insurance. Can you cover it this month? Terrell needs to see a dentist but cannot afford it. Can you help? Terrell's phone got shut off. It is only $150 to turn it back on. The worst one came when she sat across from me on my couch, scrolling her phone, and said, Terrell has a big interview next week. He needs proper clothes, at least one nice suit. I was thinking you could take him shopping. You have good taste. You could use your card, and I will pay you back. I stared at her and then laughed out loud. You have lost your mind, I said. You want me to take your ex-boyfriend shopping for clothes with my money? Every time I refused, she would act like I had committed some moral crime. She would post vague quotes on her social media about betrayal and people who show their true colors when you need them most. Her friends would jump into the comments with supportive messages, having no idea that she was talking about me refusing to fund her ex's life. My friend Rashad started picking up on the tension. We would grab beers and watch a game, and he would say, why does Selena keep posting those sad little quote pictures about being disappointed in people? Are you two fighting? One night, I told him the truth. She wants me to pay her ex's bills, I said. He almost spit his drink across the table. She what? Every week it is something else he needs money for, I said. I'm supposed to just hand it over to prove I love her. Rashad stared at me. That is insane. Why are you still with her? I did not have a good answer. I think a part of me kept hoping the version of her I met at the wedding would come back. That maybe this was a phase. But that version was gone, or maybe it had never been real in the first place. There's another piece to this story that matters. When I was 28, I had a vasectomy. I decided early in life that I did not want children. My father walked out when I was 6. I still remember sitting in a small apartment, listening to my mother cry behind the bathroom door because she could not afford school shoes for me. I watched her work 2 jobs, fall asleep at the kitchen table, and carry the weight of everything alone. I promised myself I would never bring a child into the world unless I was absolutely certain I wanted that responsibility. The more I learned about myself, the more I knew I did not want it all. I like my freedom. I like being able to travel when I want, spend my money how I choose, and not have my entire life dictated by another human being's needs. So I got snipped. No regrets whatsoever. Selena knew this from early on. We talked about it on maybe our 4th date. She said she was fine with it, that her career was her focus, and she was not sure she wanted kids anyway. She smiled and said, honestly, I like my independence too. By month 15 of our relationship, Valentine's Day rolled around. I took her to an expensive steakhouse, white tablecloth, no prices on the menu, the kind of place where the waiter grates fresh truffle over your pasta like it is snow. I dropped $400 on dinner. She ordered lobster, the most expensive wine, dessert, everything. I did not complain. It was Valentine's Day, and despite the stress, I still cared about her. We went back to her apartment after dinner. She had candles lit and soft music playing. I thought we were about to enjoy the standard romantic night. But instead, she sat down on the couch across from me with a serious expression. "Damon, we need to talk," she said. Those 4 words always ring like an alarm bell. "Terrell is about to be evicted for real this time," she began. "He has nowhere to go." I opened my mouth, but she held up a hand. "Let me finish. He's been such a big part of my life. We were together for 5 years. I cannot just abandon him when he needs help. I feel responsible." "You are not responsible for him," I said immediately. "You are not his wife, and even if you were, we are together now." She ignored that. "You have this big house," she said. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It is just you living there. Terrell could stay in your guest room for a few months, just until he gets back on his feet." I actually laughed. "You want your ex-boyfriend to move into my house?" I repeated. "It is temporary," she insisted. "Damon, it is practical. You have the space. He would not be any trouble. He's a good guy. You would probably like him if you gave him a chance." I stared at her like she had grown a second head. "Let me get this straight," I said. "You want me to live with your ex? You want him in my kitchen in the morning? You want us sitting on the couch together watching television? You want me to play roommate with a man who used to sleep with my girlfriend?" "It is not like that," she repeated, voice tightening. "That is exactly what it is," I said. "Absolutely not. Never happening." She stood up and paced the room, breathing hard. "Fine," she said finally. "Then I need you to pay his rent for the next 6 months. It is $1,200 a month. That is $7,200 total. You can afford it." "Why would I do that?" I asked. "Because I'm asking you to," she said. "Because I need this from you. Because if you actually loved me, you would help the people I care about." I shook my head. "Why does Terrell not get a job?" "Any job. Fast food places are hiring. Big box stores are hiring. Warehouses pay decent starting wages. He could do anything." "He is trying," she said. "The job market is hard. He has had bad luck." I felt anger rising. "Bad luck for 5 years straight?" I asked. "He is not trying. He has you. And apparently, he has me." She folded her arms. "That is not fair," she snapped. "What is not fair?" I said slowly. "Is you expecting me to bankroll a man I have never met, just because you used to date him?" She took a deep breath, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Because if you do not help Terrell, we are done. This relationship is over. I mean it, Damon. This is important to me. If you cannot understand, then we do not have a future." I sat there for 10 seconds, silent, thinking. She watched me, expecting me to cave like I had caved on so many smaller things. Instead, I said, "Okay." Her forehead wrinkled. "Okay, what?" "Okay, we're done," I said calmly. Her face drained of color. "What?" "You said if I do not help Terrell, we are over," I reminded her. "I am not helping Terrell. So, we are over. You just chose your ex over me. That tells me everything I need to know." "Damon, wait," she said, reaching for my arm. I pulled away. "I did not mean it like that. I was just trying to what?" I cut in. "Manipulate me? Threaten me? Either way, you made your choice. Live with it. Can we please talk about this?" she begged. Tears were already sliding down her cheeks. "What is there to talk about?" I asked. "You spent months trying to get me to financially support another man. You issued an ultimatum. I accepted it. I am not interested in being your walking bank account while you play caretaker to your ex. I will pay you back," she sobbed. "All of it. The rent, the car repairs, everything. Just please do not leave." I stood up and grabbed my jacket. "You have been saying you will pay me back for a year," I said. "It has never happened, and I do not even want it anymore. Consider it tuition. I pay to learn who you really are. Goodbye, Selena. Enjoy supporting Terrell." I walked out, drove home, and blocked her number before I got to my driveway. Blocked her on everything: social media, messaging apps, email. I was finished. The weight that lifted off me when I cut her off was almost physical. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, my friend Rashad called. "So, Selena is blowing up my phone," he said. "She says you blocked her and stormed out on Valentine's Day." "Correct," I said. "She is saying you misunderstood her," he went on. "That she was not really making you choose between her and helping Terrell. She literally said if I do not help him, we are done," I replied. "That is an ultimatum." I took it seriously. Rashad laughed. She is also posting online about how you abandoned her on Valentine's Day. She could tell whatever story she wants, I said. Anybody who believes that without asking questions is not my kind of person. Rashad was quiet for a moment. About time, man, he said finally. We have all been watching her drain you. You did the right thing. Once I stepped back and really looked at the last 15 months, the numbers made me sick. I had probably spent close to $10,000 on Selena between dinners, 2 weekend trips. She could not quite afford her share of multiple loans for rent, credit card minimum payments, car repairs, phone bills, gym membership, and all the other little emergencies that somehow always landed in my lap. I had been a walking ATM. Life started to smooth out once she was gone. I went to the gym more, focused on work, hung out with my friends without constantly checking my phone to see if a new crisis had arrived. I got a promotion at work to senior systems architect with a nice raise attached. I picked up woodworking as a hobby, built a coffee table, and then a bookshelf for the living room. For the first time in months, I could feel my shoulders relax. 3 months passed. One Saturday morning, I was just back from the gym and about to make breakfast when my doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there stood Selena. She did not look like the carefully polished woman I remembered. She looked exhausted. Her hair was messy. She wore an oversized hoodie and sweatpants. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. We need to talk, she said. We do not, I replied, already starting to close the door. I am pregnant, she blurted out. I stopped. Then I started laughing. I could not help it. The absurdity hit me like a wave. That is funny to you? She snapped. Selena, I said, I had a vasectomy. You know that. We talked about it over and over. Vasectomies can fail, she said quickly. Sure, I answered, and I had mine checked 2 years ago. Post-vasectomy semen analysis. 0 sperm count. Medically, I am sterile. So unless this is a miracle from heaven, that child is not mine. Her face turned bright red. It has to be yours, she said. You are the only person I have been with. I tilted my head. That is interesting, I said, because we broke up 3 months ago. If you're just finding out now, that timeline does not really work. We have not been together in over 4 months. It could be from before we broke up, she insisted weakly. No, I said. Vasectomy. Remember? The thing you said you were okay with? The thing I gave you paperwork about when you asked? That means no children. Ever. I stepped back. So, congratulations on your pregnancy, but it is not mine. Damon, please, she said, tears spilling again. I need your help. I do not have anyone else. I shrugged. Call Terrell, I suggested. I'm sure he will be thrilled. The look that flashed across her face told me everything. Panic, guilt, fear. She knew exactly whose baby it was. You are really going to abandon your own child? She demanded. It is not my child, I said calmly. Biologically impossible. Medically impossible. If I see one more lie from you at my front door, I'm calling the police for trespassing. We are done, Selena. Completely done. She stood there in my doorway, sobbing for another minute. I made a mistake, she said. I should not have pushed you about Terrell. I know I was wrong. Can we at least talk? Please, Damon, I am scared. I do not know what to do. I know exactly what to do, I answered. Close this door. Take care of my mental health. And let the actual father deal with the consequences. Goodbye, Selena. I shut the door and locked it. Later, through Rashad, who heard it from his girlfriend, who heard it from one of Selena's friends, I learned the full truth. Terrell had never been an ex. He had moved into her apartment around month 6 of my relationship with her. While she was telling me she was stressed about rent, she was actually covering rent for both of them. When she said she was having a girls' night, she was with him. When she said she was working late, she was with him. She had been using my money to support the life she had with another man. Every dollar I gave her went to feeding, housing, and entertaining both of them. I was essentially Terrell's silent sponsor, paying his bills without knowing his face. When she got pregnant, she panicked. Terrell did not want the responsibility, and I was the more stable, financially secure option. Classic move. Pin the baby on the man with the house and the steady job, hoping he will be too soft, too guilty, or too confused to question it. 2 weeks after the doorstep scene, I received a certified letter from a law office. Selena had filed a paternity and child support claim against me. The letter stated that I was the father of her unborn child, demanded that I acknowledge paternity, asked for back child support from conception, and insisted I cover her pregnancy medical expenses. They were already claiming $2,500 in expenses and calculating future child support at $1,200 per month for 18 years. I called my attorney, Mr. Coleman, the same man who had handled my grandparents' estate. "Bring everything," he said. "Your vasectomy paperwork, your follow-up test results, anything you have." The next morning, I sat in his office with a folder full of documents, surgical reports, lab results showing 0 sperm count, consultation notes outlining my decision for permanent sterilization. He flipped through the papers and smiled. "Damon," he said, "this is the easiest paternity case I have ever seen. We will file a response denying paternity, attach your medical evidence, and offer a DNA test once the baby is born to eliminate every doubt." That is exactly what we did. Mr. Coleman sent a letter to her lawyer explaining that I had a medically documented vasectomy, 0 sperm count, and no possibility of fathering a child. He added that I was willing to submit to any testing necessary after the birth. Within a week, her lawyer withdrew from the case. They had been told I only claimed to have had a vasectomy with no proof. When confronted with a stack of medical records, they realized Selena had lied to them and refused to continue representing her. Selena then tried a new tactic. She filed for a restraining order, claiming I was harassing her and threatening her and her unborn child. She alleged that I was calling her, showing up at her job, and sending intimidating messages. The problem for her was simple. I had not contacted her once since the day I closed my door in her face. Mr. Coleman brought phone records, text logs, and screenshots proving 0 contact. At the hearing, the judge glanced through her petition, then through Mr. Coleman's evidence. "Ma'am," the judge said, "you cannot file a lawsuit against someone and then accuse them of harassment when they legally defend themselves. Your claim shows no evidence of harassment or stalking." Meanwhile, the respondent has provided complete records indicating he has not reached out to you at all. This request is denied. If you file another frivolous petition, I will consider sanctions. We are done here. By that point, I could have walked away and simply enjoyed my freedom, grateful that the truth had protected me. But something in me was not finished. This was not just heartbreak. She had tried to trap me with a child that was not mine. She had tried to legally bind my wallet to another man's baby for the next 18 years. That was more than betrayal. That was a direct attack on my life. Outside of my primary job, I am very good with systems and data. I work in cybersecurity and database architecture. Public records, online footprints, and financial patterns are things I understand well. Curiosity turned into determination. I want to see exactly how deep her deception went. I started with her professional records. Her real estate license was public information. I looked up her transaction history, which was also public in my state. In 2 years, she had closed 3 deals. Total. The entire time, she had been telling me how crazy busy she was with clients. She had netted maybe $8,000 in commissions after broker fees and taxes. That meant roughly $4,000 a year, around $330 a month. Yet she had a nice apartment, a newish car, expensive nails, and a closet full of clothes that looked luxurious. I dug deeper. She had once posted a proud photo of her car on social media. In the corner of the image, the leasing company's name and her account number were visible. With some targeted searches and a phone call pretending to be interested in early payoff quotes, I learned that she was 3 months behind on the lease. Property records showed the name of her landlord. I called the landlord posing as a reference for a new apartment she was supposedly applying for, and the landlord, relieved to finally vent, told me Selena was 3 months behind on rent and owed over $4,000. Her designer outfits turned out to be mostly discount brands that only looked pricey in photos. The entire image of the successful real estate agent had been a carefully painted illusion held together with my money and whatever small amount she could pull from her sporadic closings. Then I turned my attention to Terrell. His social media profiles were public. I scrolled through months of posts. He complained constantly about minimum wage and not wanting to work for the man, posted GoFundMe links asking for help with car repairs, helping a friend in need, and unexpected medical bills. Each fundraiser lined up almost perfectly with the time when Selena had told me she needed help for herself. 8 months earlier, right in the middle of my relationship with Selena, I found a post that made my blood run cold. A photo of a small living room I recognized as hers, with Terrell's feet kicked up on her coffee table. The caption read, "Finally convinced V to let me move back in. Rent-free life, boys. Sugar Mama is real." I took screenshots of everything. There were more posts, him bragging about his girl who paid for everything, photos of him at the same restaurants I had taken Selena to, sometimes in the same week. In one picture, he was wearing a leather jacket I remember buying for her after she said hers had been stolen. She had simply handed it to him. I went back through my bank statements and pulled every transaction tied to Selena. I listed them in a spreadsheet: date, amount, reason she gave. Rent, car repairs, utilities, phone bills, credit card minimums, gym membership, emergency expenses. The total I had given her, not counting regular dates, was $10,847. Then I looked up the law. In my state, if someone obtains money from you through deliberate deception, especially while concealing material facts, you can sue for fraud and unjust enrichment. The key was demonstrating that if I had known the truth, that she was living with another man and using my money to support him, I would not have given her a dime. I had all the proof I needed. I sat down with Mr. Coleman again and laid everything out: receipts, statements, screenshots of Terrell bragging about living rent-free, the timeline of our relationship, the paternity attempt, all of it. He read through everything and leaned back in his chair. "This is civil fraud," he said. "Misrepresentation, unjust enrichment, maybe even criminal if the state wanted to push it. We can absolutely file." He drafted a civil complaint accusing Selena of fraud, misrepresentation, and unjust enrichment, seeking the $10,847 I'd given her, plus interest, legal fees, and court costs, bringing the total to around $15,000. 2 weeks later, Selena was served with the lawsuit at her parents' house, where she had moved temporarily. Her new lawyer called Mr. Coleman on the phone and tried to negotiate. "If your client agrees to drop this lawsuit," he said, "my client will agree to permanently withdraw any and all paternity claims." I told Mr. Coleman, "Absolutely not. I want every penny back, and I want the truth on record. Civil court filings are public. Anyone can search them: employers, landlords, future partners. I wanted her actions written into the record where she could not bury them." The complaint spelled everything out. It described our relationship, her financial requests, Terrell's role, her concealment of their ongoing relationship, the way she used my money to subsidize another man's lifestyle, and her attempt to pass his child off as mine. Attached were Terrell's own bragging posts about living rent-free and having a sugar mama, bank records showing my transfer to her account followed by her payments to his, and my medical documentation proving I could not be the father of her child. Her lawyer filed a motion to dismiss, arguing that money given in a romantic relationship is a gift, and gifts cannot be clawed back simply because the relationship ends badly. Mr. Coleman answered with a detailed response, citing case law. "This is not a case of disappointed romance," he wrote. "This is a case of deliberate deception. The defendant concealed a concurrent romantic and cohabiting relationship with another man, obtaining money under false pretenses. That is fraud, not heartbreak." The judge denied the motion to dismiss. We were going to trial. Her lawyer came back with a settlement offer: $5,000 if I would walk away. I refused. "Full amount or trial," I said. Her choice. She chose trial. 6 months later, we walked into a small courtroom. Selena sat at the defendant's table, looking smaller than I remembered. Terrell sat behind her, arms crossed, eyes darting around. I felt strangely calm. I had no lies to remember. The truth was simple. I testified first. Mr. Coleman asked plain questions. "Did Selena tell you Terrell was her ex?" "Yes." "Did she disclose that he was living with her?" "No." "Did she tell you she was using your money to support him?" "No." "If you had known she was living with him as a partner while asking you for money, Would you have given her anything? Absolutely not. Then Mr. Coleman displayed Terrell's social media posts on a screen. The one about convincing V to let him move back in and live rent free. The one about having a sugar mama. The photos of him wearing the jacket I bought and eating at the exact same places I had taken her. Selena's lawyer tried to argue that the money had been gifts, that I had willingly helped her during a tough time, and that it was unfair to punish her after the fact. But the more they tried to paint it as a normal, if messy, relationship, the more Mr. Coleman pulled it back to the facts. She lied about Terrell, hid that he was living with her, and funneled my money into their shared life. The most devastating moment was when Terrell took the stand. He shuffled up, slouched in the witness chair, and refused to look at me. Were you in a romantic relationship with Selena during the time she was dating Damon? Mr. Coleman asked. Yeah, Terrell muttered. Did you live with her? Yes. Did she pay most of the bills? Yes. Did you know that she was getting money from Damon? I figured she was getting money from somewhere, he said. Mr. Coleman asked about the rent-free and sugar mama posts. Terrell tried to claim they were just jokes, but the dates lined up perfectly with the times I had sent Selena money. The jury watched his face, watched the screen, and watched Selena wiping tears she had no way to justify. The jury deliberated for less than an hour. When they came back, the verdict was clear, fraud proven. The court ordered Selena to repay the $10,847, plus my legal fees and court costs, bringing the total judgment to $14,847. She did not have that kind of money. The judgment went on her credit report like a permanent scar. I could have stopped there, but the long arc of what she had done still burned in my chest. So I filed a complaint with the State Real Estate Commission. In it, I laid out her pattern of deception, the civil judgment, and the way she had misrepresented herself to me and others. I attached the court documents, including the jury's finding of fraud. The commission opened an investigation. They discovered things even I had not known. Small amounts of escrow money borrowed and replaced at the last minute, misrepresentations of sales history to clients, sloppy record, keeping, and complaints from clients who felt misled about her experience. Combined with the fraud judgment, it was enough. Her license was suspended, then revoked entirely. Real estate had been the center of the image she projected. Without that license, the entire persona collapsed. Last I heard from Rashad, she was living back with her parents, working retail, and trying to raise a child with no steady support. Terrell, unsurprisingly, had bailed. A default paternity judgment named him the father, and there was a standing child support order waiting for the day they finally managed to track him down. Selena sent a message to Rashad months later, asking him to pass a note to me. She said she knew she had done terrible things, that she was in therapy now, that she was trying to change. She wrote that she hoped, one day, I could forgive her, that she was not the same person anymore, that she had learned and grown. I told Rashad exactly what to say back. Tell her she can start with paying what she owes, I said. Every dollar. When she has finished paying off the $14,847, then we can talk about forgiveness. At the $200 per month the court set as her payment plan, that will take her over 6 years. When Rashad relayed that message, he told me she broke down crying. She said it was not fair that one mistake was ruining her life. He told her the truth. It was not one mistake. It was 15 months of lies, manipulation, and deliberate choices. It was taking money under false pretenses. It was trying to strap me to another man's child. People can argue that I went too far, that I should have walked away quietly and let the universe handle it. I did not see it that way. She did not just hurt my feelings. She tried to rewrite my entire future without my consent. In the end, all I did was pull back every layer of deception she wrapped herself in and force her to live in the light of her own actions. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.